So Justin Trudeau is holding a big cabinet retreat on the Liberal housing crisis. Interesting, isn't it? This is 2 weeks after he said housing is not his job. You can understand why he would want you to believe it's not his job, because he's done such a terrible job. Let's just look at the facts. That I'm going to help Justin today and give him some facts about the state of housing after 8 years as Prime Minister, 8 years after he promised housing would be made more affordable. These are the facts. It now takes 66% of the average pre-tax family income to make the average mortgage payment. It was about 39% when Trudeau took office. It now takes 25 years for the average Toronto family to save up for a down payment. Before Trudeau, you could pay off an entire mortgage in 25 years. After 8 years of Trudeau, newlyweds are forced to pay $1,000 for a single room in a townhouse that they share with 2 other couples. Shared bathroom, shared kitchen, $1,000 for that privilege. How romantic for those newlyweds after 8 years of Trudeau. After 8 years of Trudeau, the average mortgage payment has gone from $1,400 to $3,300, a more than 100% increase. After 8 years of Trudeau, the average rent has gone from $950 to over $2,000, excuse me. Once again, 100% increase. After 8 years of Trudeau, housing costs in Canada are 45 to 75% more expensive than in the United States. And if you go to border towns like Niagara, you will see that the housing cost on the Canadian side of the border is nearly double that of the housing cost 15 minutes away in the United States. Why is the Trudeau housing market twice as expensive as the American market? And it's not just the American comparison. Vancouver is now the 3rd most unaffordable, and Toronto the 10th most unaffordable housing market in the world. Worse than New York City, worse than London, England, worse than Singapore, an island with 2,000 times more people per square kilometre than Canada. We're worse than Singapore when it comes to housing. According to UBS, Toronto is now the most risky housing bubble in the world. 8 years ago, Toronto didn't even rank as a bubble. Now, it's the worst bubble on planet Earth after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. Today, a 2-bedroom house in Canada costs more than a castle in Sweden after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. And how is the problem progressing? Well, we obviously have a big housing shortage. We have the fewest houses per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have by far the most land to build on. So how are we doing to fix that problem? Housing construction is down 32% this year, according to the National Housing Agency. In fact, last year, we built fewer homes than we built in 1972, when Canada's population was 22 million. In other words, and last year the population was 39 million. So we've doubled the population and we're building fewer houses annually. Furthermore, we see that the cost of government amounts to $350,000 per newly built house in Toronto and a $1.3 million in Vancouver. The biggest cost for housing today is not labor, not lumber, not land, and not profit. It is government. That is the record after 8 years of Trudeau. Anybody wonder why he doesn't want housing to be his job anymore? Remember 8 years ago when he promised he'd make housing more affordable? He kept making those promises for years and years and years, and then whoops! 2 weeks ago, he popped up in front of all of you in the press and said, "Not my job, sorry, let me put you on hold while I transfer your call to another government department." That's 8 years of Trudeau. My message, Mr. Trudeau, is this. You have a big housing retreat with your Liberal cabinet in Prince Edward Island. You can start reversing the problem you caused by walking out today and saying, yes, housing is your responsibility, Mr. Trudeau. You are the one who is to blame for doubling the cost. And you could adopt my policies, which have been clearly stated, that we should speed up housing construction. I will require every federally funded transit station be pre-permitted for sky-rise apartments so our seniors and youth can live right next to the bus or train. I require municipalities speed up and lower the cost of building permits. They will have to boost permits by 15% per year or lose housing or lose infrastructure money. But those that beat that 15% target will get a building bonus. We'll free up thousands of acres of federal land and sell 6,000 federal buildings to turn that into housing as well. We'll make sure that new immigrants, we have a higher number of carpenters, plumbers, and other skilled immigrants to help build houses. We'll put more support for the trades. We need more boots, not just more suits. These are common sense solutions about which have been talking for years. We can restore the dream of home ownership that everyone took for granted 8 years ago. The good news is life wasn't like this before Trudeau. It won't be like this after he's gone. We'll turn the hurt he's caused into the hope Canadians need. Let's bring it home.
Do you support rolling back immigration levels to ease the strain on housing?
Look, I think Justin Trudeau would love Canadians to blame immigrants for the housing prices that he has doubled. But immigrants are just following the rules that he put in place. So how can we blame them and not him? He's the one that presided over the doubling of housing costs. He's the one that doubled the rent, doubled mortgage payments. He's the one that gave us the worst inflation crisis in 40 years. He's the one who sent interest rates on our mortgages rising faster than at any time in monetary history. And now he wants Canadians to forget all that and blame immigrants. He wants to divide people, to distract from his failings. He thinks if you're afraid of your neighbor, you might forget that you can't pay your rent. This is what demagogues do. Justin Trudeau's been dividing people his entire life. And I expect that he will get even nastier and more divisive now as people realize the misery that he has brought down on them.